Raul Hernandez here, MLH Media, and we're over here today in the beautiful Central Valley. But I'm here with the guy that's kind of been a little bit everywhere over here in the United States. He's originally over there from Pittsburgh, was in Oklahoma wrestling, then went to California, now in New Mexico. My guy, Jake Woodley. How you doing today, my brother?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing amazing, man. As I stated previously in your introduction, originally over there from Pittsburgh, and I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up that high school to college kind of wrestling career. I mean, a three-time Fargo All-American, I believe, in high school, and then you went over to the NCAA sector, tore it up over there, four-time qualifier, two-time All-American. I know you kind of stated in some interviews that you decided right once you went All-American to go the UFC route, but man, how did, because you got the Olympic route had to be in the back of your mind somewhere. How did you kind of really make that decision to be like, you know what, MMA is the route, UFC is going to be that top goal?
When I was a kid, I kind of wanted to fight, so it kind of worked out that I had a good college wrestling career. And I thought about wrestling after college, but there's a lot of really good guys out there. And I had a good college career, but there's like multiple time NCAA champs and stuff like that trying to make the Olympic team. So I decided fighting was probably a better route for me. But I mean, I still love wrestling. I still wrestle all the time and everything, but I figured maybe that the ceiling for making money is a little bit higher in MMA. You know, wrestling, you can make money, but you pretty much have to be Olympic champion. So you could be a guy like Dustin Poirier. He never, I mean, I think maybe he had the like interim belt, but he was never UFC champ. Nate Diaz, guys like that who make a lot of money and they're not even number one. Whereas in wrestling, you have to be Olympic champ to make any kind of money that's like, substantial.
And I like that you kind of stated that route of having to choose that, because that is definitely something that maybe not a lot of people kind of look at from the outside looking in. Everybody says, "Oh, well, I mean, to be an Olympic champ is this," but it's also got to think about paying the bills at home. But speaking a
Right.
little bit about kind of your background going into things, I know that you also had said you're a pretty big football fan, and with that,
Yeah,
I know you growing up in Pittsburgh over there. Are you a Steelers fan?
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, Steelers were really good when I was growing up. They
Were,
won two Super Bowls when I was a kid, so it was pretty easy to be a big football fan growing up in Pittsburgh.
Has it been a little bit more hectic as of late, kind of with the whole Cam Hayward, Aaron Rodgers saga, and all that stuff? Has it been a little bit rough for Mr. Woodbone being a Steelers fan as well? I trust me, not making fun of you. I'm a Las Vegas Raiders fan, so no hate at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about Aaron Rodgers. I think I was happy that we signed him because it was looking like maybe Mason Rudolph was going to be our starting quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers is obviously going to be in the Hall of Fame. I'd rather have him. But yeah, I'd like Cam Hayward, and I think there's someone else who's holding out right now, and obviously they got to get on board so we can win some games. But I think they're going to do pretty well this year.
Speaking a little bit about a little bit of that NFL kind of connection over there at your gym, specifically Jackson Wink, Josh Hokett, obviously used to be playing fullback over there for the San Francisco 49ers. Man, that's a real tongue twister right there. But now it's been over there at LFA, been killing it, going to be on Dana White Contender Series. I know you and him have kind of built a little bit of a relationship over the time being. How has that been to not only get to be in the gym with him, but also kind of get some work in with him as well?
Yeah, it's been a great working out with Josh. He's a great training partner. He's another high level wrestler, so we can train hard without like hurting each other and stuff. We understand how to train really hard. And yeah, we're managed by the same management, so I've got to know Josh pretty well over these last few years, and great training partner for sure. I think he's gonna win that contender series fight, and he'll probably be in the UFC here soon.
I'm going to be taking him on in basically a week's time from when we were speaking here today on August
Yeah,
19th over there on Dana White Contender Series. But speaking a little bit about kind of what he had mentioned during a most recent video, I love the picture he used for you in this video. I'll
yeah,
probably throw it up on screen here now. But you recently made a call out to another pretty infamous wrestler in the Instagram scene by the name of Georgio. What were your kind of thoughts on the situation? Did you know Josh was going to do this? I know Josh's kind of a crazy guy. He kind of does his things on instincts. Did you know this was going to happen? Kind of walk us through the situation through your eyes.
yeah. He told me about it like doing the video. I thought it was gonna be. I loved it. I thought it was a great idea. He was like, he wanted me to take a pic. I took that picture that morning. He made the video. He was like, do it right in front of the cage. And I was like, all right, yeah. Because like he came in the gym the other day, and his cameraman was being disrespectful to me when I walked by. He like tried to punk me, and I kind of went off on him. And then he tried to like get in the middle of me and the cameraman. So I asked him if he wanted to fight. He said no. I was like, all right, let's do $1,000 takedown then. And at first he said yes, but when it came down to it, he wouldn't do it because I had actually trained with him before in California, and I took him down. He couldn't take me down, but there was no cameras, there was no sign, like it was normal, you know. So, but he remembers me, so he didn't want to do the $1,000 takedown, and so they all left. They acted like they were too good for us. Like we don't need this, and like left, you know. So that kid's basically, you know, it was more of his cameraman, but I mean, he was out there defending his cameraman, so they're both punks, honestly. So
And what I've never got with these kind of situations, because you see plenty of guys kind of do this that maybe have jiu-jitsu experience or wrestling experience or so on and so forth. I
yeah,
feel like they never post the clips of them getting punked. Like, and
well,
which I feel
exactly.
would validate the, like, you know, if they posted one or two clips of them getting punked, I think a lot more people would be like, even maybe a guy like yourself or a guy like Josh would be like, hey, it's a fair comp, you know, like, because
Well,
there's, I
and like
mean,
when I wrestled him, I mean, he was hard to take down. Like he's a good wrestler, and yeah, maybe people would respect that. Like, look at how long it took for a really high level guy to take me down. Look at how difficult it was. You know what I mean? But he just wrestles like guys with like high school wrestling experience, and it's like, all right, you know, it hits a cool move on him. Like, yeah, of course, bro. Like, if I wrestled my sister, I would hit a cool move on her too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
and then what exactly was he kind of, I mean, I just don't know how you could really take the side of like going into your gym and then like the cameraman being so what exactly was his angle on the defense? Was it just more so like, hey, I'm with my cameraman, we ride together type thing? Or I really am trying to, I try to see
pretty
all sides of
much.
the situation.
I mean, his cameraman was is like a really disrespectful kid, and I asked him if anyone's ever smacked the out of him for talking to people like that because the way he was talking to me, and he said no, and I like stepped on the mat. I like really was gonna smack this kid, and he like got in the middle of us, and he's like, if you want to get to my cameraman, you have to get through me. I was like, oh, so you want to fight? And he was like, oh no, there's no reason for that. It's like, then what? Then what do you talk? Like, what do you mean I got to get through you? He's like, all right, bro, let's do $1,000 takedown then. He's like, we can do that, but then we never did it. You know, he was like, "Wow, I don't need this," and like left. It's like, all right, bro.
Such an interesting character, such an interesting situation. But I mean, more to
Yeah,
go to speak about your MMA career and about the amazing accomplishments you had. I mean, before your most recent kind of bump in the road against James Romero, you had been one of the most active competitors for, I believe, LFA had like ever seen. I think you had had 4 bouts within a year span, 5 bouts within a year span. Could you
yeah.
correct me on that?
Signed for my fifth bout, and like it would have been like a year and a week, but my opponent was 10 pounds over, and my management and coach advised me to not take the fight after he was 10 pounds over at weigh-in. So I almost had 5 fights in 1 year, but it was 4 fights in 1 year. Yeah.
That's absolutely insane. I mean, was it the wrestling experience that kind of contributed to wanting to keep up with that uptick of activity, or was it just more so like, hey, we're in this MMA career, we're full steam ahead? Because I mean, to take that many fights, a lot of fans don't know, but it's an absolute toll on the body too, right? No matter if you're coming in there damaged or not.
Right. Yeah, my first few fights I didn't take very much damage. So, and you know, I mean, I'm not necessarily old, but I didn't start training. I'd only ever wrestled till I was 23 or until I was 23. So, when I it took me like a year of training to be ready to take a fight, and once I was ready to take a fight, well, then I was 24. And it was like, well, I kind of got to, you know, not accelerate it too much, but get some fights in because I'd like to be in the UFC, you know, before I'm like 30. I don't want to be, if you're over 30, you know, there's only so much you can do. You only have so many years left. So I did want to kind of push the pace from the beginning.
And I mean, speaking to a lot of wrestlers too that have had college experience that have gotten to kind of work at that high level, I feel they also have that mental kind of advantage compared to maybe a lot of MMA guys going into things just because you go through the route of having to take losses on your own. You go through all these kind of things that you would usually have to take in your amateur career to go into your pro. Do you think that college wrestling kind of experience of being, I mean, not only going to college, but also being at the top level, being in the NCAAs, do you think that's contributed more and more that you've gotten into your career as a professional here going into the MMA sector?
For sure, we were competing almost every weekend in college. So you got to stay sharp, and a lot of it's the weight cutting too. I had to make weight like maybe 100 times or something around there in college. So I think that's something I see some MMA guys cutting weights very new to them, and it takes a few fights to really get it. I mean, even for me, because of MMA's day before weigh-in and not day of, even for me, it was a slight adjustment, but it was definitely easier to adjust to the cutting weight doing it for a while. A little more water weight for MMA, but other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Watching your fights, it doesn't definitely seem like you have any sort of kind of wearing, tearing down of kind of the weight cut or anything like that because you absolutely look like a killer in there, most recently gaining a unanimous decision in June. Did that kind of, was that something you wanted to do on purpose, kind of show off a lot more of the skill set? You know, obviously, I know you always are going in there for kind of the finish, looking for the kill, but I know you also stated you want to show off the striking a little bit more in this bout against David. Did you feel complete in your mission against David Gladfelter at LFA 211?
A little bit. I would have liked to strike a little bit more, but he just, I don't know, it just sometimes the wrestling just happens. So I ended up wrestling, and I wanted to get the finish, but didn't end up happening. But I do think it's good for me to go the full 15 minutes. I've done that a couple times in my career, and I think that it shows that I'm in good shape. And last fight was my first fight camp with Jackson and Wink, and I mean, my conditioning level was insane. This is the highest elevated metropolitan city in the U.S., and I think that played a big factor in my conditioning. Going into round two, I was like almost fresh after that minute break. I was like, wow, like I had never felt that good in a fight before. So
Wow, yeah, so no, very very good for the conditioning in your sense. But now, fast forward, August 22nd, you're returning back to the beautiful grand golden state of California, my man. Not
yeah,
only are I know you're excited about that. I can already see the smile beaming
absolutely,
off your
yeah.
face. But you're going to take on Trent Miller. I would say a vet of the MMA scene, 8-2. How are you feeling about the matchup? Could potentially be a very, very crucial matchup in the career of Mr. Jake Woodbone Woodley, right?
Yeah, I'm excited for this matchup. He's got a good record, 8-2, so getting a victory over him on paper definitely looks good. He's a tough fighter. He's got some power, but I'm not too worried. I'm going to go in there and do my thing and get the W.
Are you excited about the venue at all? I mean, it's going to be over there in Ventura, obviously right near the beach. Cornhole, big cornhole fan at all?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I heard there's like, a bunch of stuff going on over there, so maybe after my fight I go check some of it out. But yeah, there's like cornhole and like a concert or something, but
Well, a little
definitely more
bit.
focused on my fight. But after the fight, maybe throw a couple bags or something. I don't know.
Throw a couple bags of cornhole. No, definitely found it as one of the more interesting venues that I've seen have a MMA event at. But hey, great cornhole fest going down over there in Ventura,
Yeah.
California, August 22nd. I mean, potentially last LFA event you were at the headliners. One of them went to UFC, got another potential matchup over there with Richie Miranda and Eli Barzilay in that main event. Jake Woodley, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to have you on the program today. I know a lot of work goes into each fight camp, a lot of preparation. Was there anything in particular, though, you really wanted to kind of highlight in this last sector here today in this interview?
I guess just shout out to my team at Jackson Wink and my sponsor my management TNT Sports Management and a couple sponsors, Ranch Hands, Cali Tacos, Twigs, OC Fight Doc, and because I couldn't do it without all those people. Can't do it by myself. So I get a lot of support that I'm grateful for.
Well, some people say it takes a village, Jake. I would say that sometimes it takes a whole country. Mr. All-American over there, Jake Woodley, going to be taking on Trent Miller over there at LFA 215. Eli Barzilay and Richie Miranda in the main event over there in Ventura, California. Thank you so much for your time today, Jake. Obviously, best of luck in your upcoming bout. Look forward to speaking to you. Michael Hernandez, MLH Media, signing out with my guy, Jake Woodley.